Hey, how's it going? It's me again, back with some more local politics for St. Petersburg. Uh, in previous videos, I went over the mayoral election. Uh, well, we've got some new polls, and we're gonna look at a few things and kind of, you know, look to the future. I'm running all this on my laptop, so if things don't seem as good as they usually are. It's because I had some issues with my desktop computer. Uh, Working on fixing that soon. Anyways, here we go. Last uh, In the last video, we saw or we went over the results of the primary election back in August. Uh, Ken Welch and Robert Blackman moved ahead to the general election, which is November 2nd. Uh, be sure to vote. It's important to vote. Um, I know sometimes it seems like voting's a waste of time, but it's it's probably like the aside from protesting and assembly, it's probably the most important thing that every individual could do to enact any kind of change. I mean, in local politics and in state and federal politics. Um, and so basically, what we're going to look at now is the polls, as I mentioned. So um, the polls are actually uh, pretty extraordinary. They pretty much all have. Okay, so the newest one specifically, it has Ken Welch winning pretty decisively with a majority vote. Um, it's I think it was kind of expected that his uh, percentage points would be higher, but I don't know if anyone thought it'd be this high. Even with the 11% undecided, that's still even if you give all of that to Robert Blackman, Ken Welch still wins. It's pretty substantial. He's also Ken Welch has rigged in a number of new endorsements, most notably uh, were Darden Rice, who had previously been a candidate for mayor. Um, of course, you got Rick Reisman, the current mayor, Jane Castor, mayor of Tampa. You have a mix of you have a very bipartisan endorsement field here, as I've gone over in previous videos. Um, but it's a substantial increase, I would say. Uh, I think I think if you had asked anyone before who's going to win this race, it was pretty much always going to be Ken Welch. He's just best positioned, um, at least in this race. It's interesting for sure because if you look at the previous election between Rick Kreisman and Rick Baker, as you can see here, is it's very close. Um, this is it probably has to do with if I remember correctly, Rick Baker he had he was well regarded in St. Pete. He had been mayor between 2001 and 2010. Um, and as far as I know, he was a well liked mayor. He considered state politics, but decided not to for he wanted to be with his family. State politics would have taken him away from St. Pete. So, anyways, it was a really close election. But even with Rick Baker's popularity, perhaps more so or on par with Rick Reisman's, Rick Reisman still managed to edge it out, and that's despite, as you can see here, uh, Rick Baker was polled as the winner uh, between the two. Of course, this does include some other candidates, but I want to say there's another poll. Yeah, so Rick Baker was always kind of leading, but even this lead, I guess, wasn't really nearly as much as the lead that we see with Ken Welch here. There is supposed to be another debate sometime soon. Um, I know Ken Welch he contracted the COVID virus, and I know he had mentioned doing a virtual debate, although Robert Blackman is insisting on a in-person debate. So at some point, I'm sure they will have a sit down. Uh, Possibly, if they do, or rather when they do, I will go over that as well. Hopefully, by that point, I have my regular computer back so that my laptop isn't dying trying to do this. But yeah, basically that's it for now. We do have, I think I mentioned before, we have all the three city council positions that are up for grabs. Um, with the polls have been interesting. I think Richie Floyd he won the district's primary with a majority vote. As I mentioned before, also the only candidate on the primary ballot to win a full majority. That's 50% or more of the vote. Everyone else, as you can see here, less than 50%. So these are Ken Welch had a plurality of the vote, um, but he's polling below his the person he's running against, which it kind of it kind of brings up some questions of regarding, I guess, voting in these districts. So we have, I believe it's 8 districts in St. Petersburg, and they each have, there's a person for each district, obviously. And so, uh, as we've mentioned before, the primary election, only the district votes on the candidate. In the general election, the entire city votes on it. So it raises the question of whether or not only people in the district should vote for the district representative, or should it stay as it is. I think it's a valid question, especially if you feel that your district representative or your city council person, like if you don't feel that they're representative of you, that's it's not gonna mesh well. It might be easier to have somebody that actually feels like they actually speak for you, as opposed to somebody who the city in general, because the city, it's a big city, and different parts of the city have different different goals, different beliefs, different objectives, I guess you could say. And so, it's an interesting thing to think about. Anyways, this is just kind of it for the update. As more information comes out, I will upload videos. Uh, as I mentioned before, I will also do a video on some state politics soon. Well, soon as over the next few months sometime. Uh, it should be heating up pretty soon for the race for Florida governor. I mean, it's been kind of simmering for a while, especially with Charlie Crist and Nikki Fried. I know they've been sparring here and there. Uh, and actually, some polls have, I want to say it's Charlie Crist leading Ron DeSantis. Although you know, it's quite a hill to climb, considering there hasn't been a Democratic governor or a Democrat as governor since, I want to say, 2000, or it was before Jeb Bush. That must have been 1998, I think. But yeah, we'll go over that in a future video. Once that really heats up, next year should be really big for state politics, and I plan on putting out as much content as I can uh, in between, doing political schoolwork, I guess you could say. My major is political science, which is, you know, what I'm referencing. But thanks for watching. Leave a comment if you have any questions, or um, how you feel about this, or maybe one of your candidates didn't make it. Uh, if you want to give them a shout out, or say why you think they made it, why they didn't make it, or what you don't like about somebody, we can get a conversation going. Uh, But yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time on the internet.